No one really knows when or how it happened. Shipments just stopped arriving. No boats carrying cargo, no caravans, nor traveling merchants. It was more unsettling a few days later, when someone who went to investigate never returned. Many stories started circulating. Stories of witchcraft, stories of monsters. Some even said the land just didn't exist anymore. Some said it was the beginning of the end. It was as if still water and surrounding areas just vanished. Curiosity and fear began to set in. We all wanted answers, but feared the search for them meant certain death. At dawn, the bell rang, and a request was made to send a search party to gather information. The townsfolk sat there murmuring to themselves, unsure and frightened of what lay beyond their border. After much hesitation, the mayor stated that anyone who came back with information shall be rewarded, but only for the first one to do it. When we got home, my father started gathering things together. We were going to answer that call. The next day, we embarked for Stillwater. Stillwater was the only producer of lumber and meats in the area, and our town was the sole distributor of Stillwater. We approached the chapel. We started to witness the horror that had ravaged this land. The chapel was dilapidated and charred, the corpses of its patrons roaming aimlessly. Such horror and dread should not exist. This sight sent chills throughout my body and I wanted to turn back, but my father pressed forward. We heard thunderous footsteps inside the chapel. They grew louder and louder the closer we got. I swear I could feel the earth shake beneath my feet. At this point, we knew we had to turn back. We got out of there as quickly and as quietly as we could, careful not to make a sound. The townfolk gathered around us to hear our ominous tale when we returned. As we described our journey, some faces turned white, while others looked in disbelief. I couldn't blame them. It sounded ridiculous as it came out of my own mouth. Others had similar information. Someone even said they saw a beast, a massive, bloated amalgamation. Roberts claimed he saw it, but he was hysterical and physically unwell. Listening to the description sounded insane, but after what I had just witnessed, I knew it was possible. Jones, on the other hand, was very quiet. She claimed she saw a glowing pile of something unnatural. Words couldn't describe what she saw. Hums and whispers emanating, she dared not touch it. The only thing she could muster is that it appeared to be something unholy. Of 15 or so of us that left, only 5 returned. We shared the prize for returning with this information. Little did we know this would be one of the last times this would happen. The townfolk became more distant, and many decided to pack up and leave. Others insisted there was no issue at all, and everything was fine. These were trying times, and so much was still unknown to us. Against my better judgment, I agreed that my father would go on another mission by himself. I would stay behind and try to keep hope in our home and town alive. Then it happened. I knew I shouldn't have agreed to let my father go by himself. He was found on the side of the road and brought back to town. We knew there was this possibility of someone to vanish, of someone to get injured. But you still feel blindsided when it happens to you. There wasn't much anyone could do. All we could do was wait. I stayed by his side, hoping for some improvement, but there was little signs of change. I felt helpless as my father was fighting for his life. But one day, he started to get better. He started to heal. He had somehow managed to return from the brink of death. When he finally started to recover, the first thing he started to do was to pray. He was a godly man, a man of unwavering faith. I have my own beliefs, but this is what got him through his hardest fight. The story around town is that Robert's health was declining. He appeared to be losing his sanity and looked sicklier by the day. He was fighting a similar battle, and my father was barely getting through his. When he was strong enough, he started planning our next mission. He was acting as if nothing had happened. I didn't like the idea, but I wasn't going to let him go on his own again. A fortnight passed, and we were off on our next journey. Our target would be the slaughterhouse. Our town was running low on food, and we needed to see if there was a chance of salvaging something. We fought our way through the groves. As the infestation became widespread, it was difficult to see the remnants of women, of children, of men I might have come across at one point in time. I do not take killing lightly. Treating them like monsters made it easier. Giving in to my humanity would have introduced hesitation, and that was something I couldn't afford. We could hear their howls and groans in the distance. We needed to move quickly, but safely. The horrors only magnified the closer we got to the slaughterhouse, and the shrieks from the inside were ear-piercing. Nightfall hit as we made our way inside the slaughterhouse. What was once a pristine butchery was now covered in an unknown sludge and reeked of death. The shrieks approached quickly and finally revealed itself, a nightmarish abomination of a beast, an arachnid of gargantuan proportion. This was no time to hesitate. It was kill or be killed. After a long, drawn-out fight, the beast was finally defeated. My father immediately took to prayer over the lifeless body. I patrolled the area to ensure we didn't get caught off guard. To our astonishment, my father's ritualistic prayer banished the beast and left behind an obscure crystal token, a pitch-black reward emanating power. We returned to town with the manifestation of the banishing. It was a small artifact, but carried massive meaning. For some, it meant hope that these nightmarish creatures can be felled, they can be beaten. For others, it was an awakening to the situation. Traders from other towns were paralyzed, dumbstruck, blinded upon seeing it. $200, yelled one from across the room. 300, yelled another. A bidding war broke out for this newfound trophy, and thus began a new era. The traders left for their towns, inspired by what they saw. The plague had taken the citizens of Stillwater, and it had become a business for others. I didn't agree with this, but if we could clear the town of this infection, maybe, just maybe we could spare others of this terrible fate. Our lives were changing drastically, and I was torn by what would happen. But walking home, I came across the most heartbreaking part. A walking corpse. The infection had made its way to Lawson Delta. As I looked around, I saw that it wasn't the only one. It was too late. The disease had already spread as far as I could see. It was time for us to flee, but not for good. Those of us that escaped were displaced with nowhere to go, and nothing of our own. Our home, our belongings, our sense of self, all gone. What kept us going was the thought of regaining our town from this evil. Others had their reason for taking up the fight. The money, the fame, the thrill, revenge. Whatever the reason, we were all hunting the same enemy. Everyone else was an obstacle. You never know who you will run into out there. Always treat them like the biggest threat. Find yourself a partner you trust. Work together and stop the spread of this disease. My time has passed, my son and daughter. It is time for you to carry on our bloodline. Use the tools passed down to you and bequeath them to your children. Always remember that when the adrenaline kicks in, fight with everything you've got. When things go wrong, be patient, be smart, be unwavering and relentless, because that is what it takes to have unbreakable will.